Who played an incredibly important role in our country to stabilize our country when Mandela was released from Robben Island after being there for 26 years. We had a really stable time. We had 10 years of immense development. Here you can see in Johannesburg a typical one of these housing estates. It was predominantly men, and you can see what happens with the refuse. There's no services, there's no nothing. There's like thousands of people living under this condition. Look at that, what's happening. There's no sanitation, no cleaning. So I'm going to just show you a little bit about Langa, which is the township 10 minutes outside of Cape Town, and where quite a lot of our current work is situated. And to show you that this is an entrance, and then there was another entrance here. So this was done in 1923, and it was done by the apartheid government, and they could control the men. So at this stage, there's only men staying in this area. This is a project that I'm going to show you a little bit later, but I want to show you how the area developed in terms of housing. You can see the housing just gets denser and denser. It's not particularly good quality housing. Here you can see the men sitting outside these blocks in which they stay, and this is what it looks like inside a hostel. And this was up to about 1990, 94. And only after that, this housing crisis has really been addressed in Cape Town in particular. We've got a very, very strong NGO called Hostels to Homes, and they've been working since 1979 to create homes for people instead of living in these conditions. So this is an image taken from one of our projects, just to show you when the women came into the town, they lived in between the hostels in these informal settlements. So this is a typical rural Xhosa village, but many of our villages look the same. The units are spread, there's agriculture, and there's a hierarchy of space, which is very, very unlike a Western European understanding of space making. This is a young school child's model, but I think it's really important to see how important that space is in between, and that the cattle are also really, really important in this cultural context. So this is when we get to Cape Town, that same in-between spaces you can read in the way the informal settlement is made. This is Khayelitsha outside of Cape Town, and you can see the informal, the inside, the creativity, the immense creativity that people have with nothing. So this is Cape Town, the city, and when you go to Cape Town it looks like a little European town. In fact, and very few people know that when you drive 10 minutes outside of Cape Town, this is what you get. So one of the people who's influenced my work and our work in our office enormously is a Kenyan writer called Wationga Ngugi, and he really focuses on culture. And I think I really, really want you to see how important cultural space is in our work. So when we look at sustainability, we look at the social, the economical, and the environmental aspects. And we have a little bit of a joke that we say that if one of the legs of the pot is gone, the pot will not stand. So when I started working in 1986, I actually met this man with a Matthew Boniwe and the three men next to him. And they were killed by the South African police because they were maths teachers. They were maths and science teachers, and they were really empowering young people to study maths and science instead of to just fight against apartheid. But the government killed them, and if they were still alive today, they would be the leaders leading our country. And it would have been very interesting to see with this generation, if they were not all killed by the apartheid government, what would be left. So these are the people in 1982-83, when I was at university, who contacted the university to build some workshops. So I want to encourage students to try and do your own projects. Try from a young age to tackle, even if it's a little project, it will change the way you think. So these people came to the university and asked for somebody to help them to build a workshop. We eventually, over time, built a school, a library, a workshop, a a cultural center and a clinic, and then I'll show you we built 6,000 houses. This was the little preschool, the workshop, and this was a workshop for the clinic, where we planned the clinic, where we brought a lot of people who were very well experienced, physicians, specialists, to come and talk to the community, to empower them so that they could plan their clinic better. So also this was the first time in the history of South Africa that the government worked and would work with the community. So until this stage, the government would not work with community people, and here we had the doctors and the nursing staff were in here, and here the community had an outreach program in health. They're dealing with diabetes, AIDS, people with disabilities, and it was a fantastic project. The Kellogg Foundation funded the community side, and the government funded the red side, the government side. But it took a lot of negotiation to get the two parties into the same building and to work together. This is the building. And then this is to show you, and this is 6,000 houses. There's still a few on this side, they built more. And the budget for the RDP house that we got in 2000 was 1,100 euros to build a house. So I think I want you all to realize that our budgets are unbelievably small. What we did here is we decided to put a top structure of 17 square meters and made sure that they could afford a big piece of land so that they could then carry on building. And please remember, we are in a rural village or a rural town where land is plentiful and people have extra families, they do small business, they want to plant some plants in their garden, so we're motivated for bigger pieces of land. So we built a model that you could start with your 17 square meters, which was a kitchen, and this was a bathroom, but you had to bring your informal structure. So I think this is something that we try to encourage the government to do, is that you force the person to bring their structure. Because what's happening in the Western Cape, they give the person a house, he rents the house out. He doesn't move into the new house. So he's making an income from his house that he gets from the government. So now the houses are about 38 square meters. That's the average. If you're lucky and you get to subsidized housing, it's 60 square meters, but that's the biggest sort of housing unit that you get. So what happened, you can imagine that if you live in an informal structure, the whole family, 5 or 10 people living in a little structure like this, and now you actually get a bit more of a space, so that the privacy of the parents was a completely different story. And you can see here that we forced them to bring their structure. So what was incredible is that the informal settlement was wiped out. So what was good is that in this area there's a fair amount of, there is a road, there's a fair amount of services and sewage and things that the place is fairly clean, so it's much more healthy for people to stay like this. Here you can see somebody expands it with more brick. And here you can see this looks a bit like a chocolate cake, but this is somebody with a bit more money, so they could take 2 houses and extend it and use clay brick to do that. This is up in the Namaqualand, where in the process of design, we were asked that this nomadic hut must be in the structure of their new multi-purpose center. And it was very, very important for the people that there is some kind of reference to their cultural background. So this is close to Namibia. It's in a desert area. There was no water and no electricity at the time when we built. And we built this building in 1986, and it was entirely built by the local residents. There were 10 guys. They were the alcoholics who did not have a job on the mine. So they were the people who were responsible to build. They made every brick, and they built the entire building over a year. We did the back wall, which is an acoustic panel with local spinning and weaving group. So every time we work, we try and leave as much of the resources in the area where we're working. We try to avoid taking money away from these areas. There's a library at the top. And this was about 3-4 years ago when we went to visit the building. They've plastered and painted it, and they're really looking after it. There's absolutely no government involvement in this project. It's really just the local people, the residents living in this village. There was 3,000 people, there's about 5,000 people now. This is a project in Langa, the same place as where Guga Setebe is, and in 1989, about 38 children were killed in gang fights, and we were asked to work with these children. They were from the age of 11 to about 36, and they were killing each other with a big knife and with a bicycle spoke. And we worked for 2 years with them. There were another group of children who would sniff glue. They take a bottle, and they take the bottle and they sniff the glue, and then it makes them high. So it was a big problem, and there were really hundreds of these little children all over Cape Town. They stand at the intersection where you have a traffic light to beg and to, yeah, it was really hardcore. So this is a hostel that we then transformed, and this is just the kind of activities that we did for 2 years whilst we were planning the project and raising the money. Now remember, at this stage the government is not interested in the problem. They're not really interested in the problem today, but they were really not interested in 1989. So here we started taking the kids, we started playing simple little games with them. There was a preschool in the building. Here the kids are designing the floor, and you can see after we worked with them, after 2 months, they stopped killing each other. And the main reason why they were killing each other was because they had nothing better to do. There is nothing to do in these communities. There's absolutely no facilities. So here we are working with them to make this floor. So they printed the floor in here, and there you can see just simple detail of letting natural light into the building. This is the hall. Here's the old hostel. There is the structure of the old hostel is in black. And then we lifted it up to let natural light come into the building and reflect it back into the building. This was the opening, and one of the things that we try and do is to bring people into these communities so that there's more interaction between different population groups. That is today. A gangster 3 years ago came to my office who lives in Langa, who's a contractor, and he told me that he is going to break the building down, right down to the ground. So you can imagine, you know how incredibly heavy a piece of steel is. You need a crane to break the steel out and to take the steel out of this building. So it was a very sophisticated operation, and anybody who tried to stop them, they were threatened to be killed. And I've been threatened on numerous times that if I come near there, they will kill me. So it's really sad. There was a school with 1,300 children in the back, and there were many programs running in the front. So if you talk to young people in this community, they are incredibly sad about what's happened to this project. This is in Gugulethu, a meat market, and why I want to show you is there is the hostels. This is the old hostel, and this is the new project where they're making them into houses. And we were asked by the hostels to homes to build a public market, and we worked with all these traders. There was only one man who could speak English. They all spoke Xhosa, so they all came from the deep rural area. So we had to have meetings right there on site, show them models, show them the different designs, ask them their opinion, and it was a very intense process. We also had to do social interaction with them for them to trust us, because it's really difficult. So many people have come and promised them many things and nothing ever gets done. So this is the way they worked from 1960 until we started working together in 1994, 95. And at the time, we had to raise money. The government wouldn't give us any money, so we raised the money to build this market. And they were very clear that they wanted a petrol filling station roof and some shops and some security. They were very clear about what they wanted. There you can see the market in the context, and there you can see with Table Mountain in the background. So Table Mountain is where all the rich people live. And maybe that's something I should just mention to you at this stage. In South Africa, we have over 50 million people. They estimate that about 10 million are immigrants from Africa and the East. And at the moment, there's only about 4 million people paying tax. So can you imagine what's happening in our country? We were extremely well managed and well run under a really awful system called apartheid, but everybody had food, everybody had schooling. I know it was an awfully cruel situation, but at the moment it's much crueler. Most of the people that are 18 and 19 years old cannot read or write. We have got a major, major crisis in South Africa. The education system for anybody who's not got a private education is extremely poor. Unless you are in what was previously a white school, you're probably not getting much of an education. So this is in Langa, and just the two projects that I'd like to show you. This one was built by the community after many, many consultations and workshops. It's an arts and culture center. And then this is a children's theater that we built with students from Germany and from America. It was a very interesting process, but I really want you to just remember these two buildings. That is a government, it's a hall that is very seldom used. This is a square where they burned their passes against apartheid in 1924, and then the women marched to Cape Town. So there's a lot of political history in this area, and we do a lot of work. We've got a new project on this site, which is a children's center where we're going to be working with children from a young age that have got learning disabilities. So this is Gugasatele Arts and Culture Center, which has really, really brought thousands of people into this area and stabilized the area. It's actually caused a lot of security because there's so many people who come into this area, and people walk on the street. We've got walking tours and bicycling tours. And the community have realized that if they don't protect the tourism, they have no economy. So the economy around this building is very powerful for all the residents of Langa. This is the entrance, and I'm with my business partner who unfortunately passed away in 2017, Ur Schmid. We started CS Studio Architects in 1989, and we worked together before that for 5 years for a big practice. So just also to show the students how important a good model, a model that is really reflecting what you want to build. So this is the street elevation, and we started this project with household surveys, with many, many workshops. And in the workshops it was very interesting because the older people wanted tradition and the younger people wanted iPhones and iPads and BMWs and fancy cars, and that's all they could speak about, is what they see as their vision. So this was something of how we could take something vernacular and turn it into something more contemporary. Just to show you the plan, we enter here and there's a big foyer. This foyer space is really, really amazing. It brings everybody together. And I've tried working with the students to say to them, please don't make passages. Passages are a waste of money. Make a space, don't make a passage. This is a restaurant which has gone through many different it was an information center for Western Cape tourism. Then this is what is called the Cone. There's some workshops at the back. Here's services, and there's offices over 2 floors in this little building. And there's an amphitheater at the back. So the total square meter of this building is 860 square meters. There's an estimated 3,000 people who visit it every day. There's huge, huge tour buses. There's people coming from all over. It's incredible. So I just wanted to show you the local people in Langa built the building. So we found that the skill level in this area was high enough to build the building. They did the electrical installation and they did the air conditioning, which was never put on. The good news is the air conditioning was never put on in, well, I think I've seen the air conditioning work once since 99, when we finished the building in 1999. The air conditioning was a requirement of the government. It cost more than most of the building. This is the inside of where they're plastering. It was a battle that I lost. I really wanted to keep the raw brickwork to remind us of the Zimbabwe ruins, but the person who was in charge at that time had already sold the plaster project to one of his friends. So he already got the money, so we had to plaster the inside of the building. So there is just every step of the way the corruption is unbelievable. This is the foyer space, and here you can see once it was finished. So instead of a passage, the foyer becomes a place that receives people. This is a typical tour bus coming in, buying things. So just to get back to that aspect of environmental, social and economical. In all our projects we try and do something that will generate income. These are some kids outside, and just to explain, this is in a Xhosa culture is called gugasitebe. It is a serving platter. So when you make maize or you make food, you invite people in the culture to come in and share the food and share your knowledge. So this is very important because this name of the building has really made it a very big success, because people understand in the context that you are very welcome to come to visit it. This is the craft workshop. They make incredible mugs and plates and things. And it's extremely active, and they make an enormous amount of money in this workshop. Every tour bus that stops, they've got a little spiel, and they sell a lot of their products. These are the young people that we took off the street and trained them to do mosaic. All the mosaics you see were done by these people. And just to illustrate to you, this man has been working with me since 1999. He's been doing a lot of training, and last year he was shot in his head near one of our other projects. So it's incredibly violent, our society. It's mind-blowing. I can't even begin to explain to you how mind-blowing it is. So this guy, he did lots of hotels, he's trained lots of people. They do 5-star hotels. The quality of their work is just brilliant. But yeah, so this is inside the cone. And just to point out, this was one of the gangsters we worked with in the other project, and now he is training young people in the afternoons how to play marimbas and drums. And it's really, really very, very exciting to see. He takes 30, 40 young people and he does something with them. And this is outside. There's a project called Open Streets where people get invited to come and do whatever they want to do. We bring the piano out into the street so that the kids can get involved. They can really draw other children into the project. And then this is the very nice project we did at the back, the Children's Theatre. We raised the money with a magazine. And sometimes people ask me, how do you raise the money? And in this particular case, it took 10 years to raise the money. And we only raised about 200,000 euros only. So please, this was a magazine, they helped me. Our office facilitated it. This is the University of Aachen, Peter Behrens School of Architecture, and then there were some engineers that got very involved to help us so that we could design a passive building. This is the relationship of the amphitheatre of the existing building, and at the back you see the Children's Theatre. This is just to show you again from the one stage, looking back at the first building. And here you can see it was containers, and we insulated it with straw and clay. And then on top of it was we got fruit crates from a farmer, and the students actually made the outside with the fruit crates. So here is how we make the insulation that went onto the building. just for you to see that there was a huge informal settlement at the back, and that is a hostel over there. And this was a young man from my office who was put onto site. He was 21 years old, and he helped manage the site for about 3 months. Unfortunately, the day he went on holiday, he got killed in a car accident, which was terribly sad. So here you can see the finished product of so what they did is, instead of just applying it, they transformed it into a surface. There's very nice videos on YouTube showing exactly how this building was built by the students, and I really encourage people, if you have the interest, to look at that. There's the one stage that we work from. This is a coffee shop. It's a very, very good coffee shop at the bottom of the facility. Here you can see there's a lot of people come to use it. They come and do entrepreneurial training. So this is Red Bull came and they invited young people to come and teach them about entrepreneurial skills. So once again, it's a really nice opportunity to get people to shift their belief that they cannot achieve, but that they can achieve. So we do an enormous amount of work with young people to establish small businesses and to encourage people to do small businesses and do tour guiding, start little shops. So it's a very active environment for economic activity. This is all the architects in Cape Town. We managed to get them into a township, and I can tell you that 95% of these people have never been into a black township. So it was a major achievement to have, it was an annual lecture, and we managed to get them all into Langa, and they really enjoyed it, and there was a very good exhibition linked, housing exhibition linked into this. So that was just one of the professors from Germany took that picture for me before she left. Then I would just like to show you a school and a multi-purpose center. This area is low-cost housing. There were 5,000 houses without any facilities, and we were asked to build the school. There's the high school by another architect, and we did the primary school. The parents from the children here said, please make a safe environment for our children, because there's so many gangsters in this area. My sister was a teacher in a school a little bit further along, and she watched them shoot a 12-year-old girl in front of her. So there's just every day, I mean, there's just guns shooting, and people are very nervous to walk around. So I just want to show that we made one entrance. There's a hall and a computer center. So this is open to the community on weekends. They can come and use it. And then these classrooms are also open for community use. But when the children are inside here, they are fairly safe. So this is what the school looks like from the street. That is the hall inside. And then this is the school. In the beginning had two schools, one in the morning with 1,300 children, and one in the afternoon with 1,300 children. So we hope to do mosaic on these panels, but the government withdrew the money, so it was quite... Now the school paints them different colors every 2 or 3 years and puts educational information on it. This was the multi-purpose center that came out of it, and you can see these are young people, they're gangsters, they've got nothing else to do, so it is really a bit of a problem. This is the multi-purpose center, and it's close. It was a result of the clinic, of the school. This is Zolani Center, which is another project in Yanga, and here you can see that there's a lot of activity of trading, meat selling. This project was initiated by this man. He came and he asked us to build a workshop for 36 square meters, and it turned into a 3,000 square meter multi-purpose center. You can see this activity, and the government came and put a fence around it. So even if you as the architect design a good urban space, it doesn't mean that you are going to be able to keep it. It is a real problem that we design really good urban spaces and then the government comes to put a fence around it. And I'll tell you, inside this building we had beautiful mosaic, and because the manager's cousin was a tiler, he took all the mosaics off and tiled it with pink bathroom tiles. And this is an area, Laingsburg, where there was a flood in 1981. And in this case, we worked with a poet. We work in different ways, and this is Diane Ferris. And she came and listened to the people's stories because it was incredibly tragic. That man there lost 8 people and nobody had ever asked him what he felt like. So our project was there to try and restore dignity amongst the people in this community. And here you can see the building. At that stage it was painted red because everybody said the water came through the village like a red raging bull. It was a very interactive process. We had a lot of fun. People tell us what they want to see. And what is also for me exciting, this was last year, they've built a gym and they've painted most of the things white because white is cheaper than that. So, but they love the building, there's lots of action and lots of people there. This is a process in France that was part of the Global Award, and we did lots of workshops with young kids and with adults, and the same story came out. Please, we need a space where we feel comfortable, where we can interact, where we can where our parents can sit and watch us play, and we can be comfortable and in a sensitive space. So we did a lot of workshops with people, and these were the 4 options that came, or the 3 that came out, and finally that was the one everybody chose. They wanted 3 buildings around the square, but the mayor didn't want that, so the mayor came and said no, he wants 1 building, and we had to produce 1 building. So I think it's often, I've realized that the French system is much more difficult to work in. There were lots of regulations and it was very hard. And when Sarkozy came into power, the project was cancelled. But this is just a little building trying to bring the family and the people to interact in this portion. That was the grocery store and this was the delicatessen on this side. So to try and make a socially interactive space where people can be with their children and they can enjoy themselves. Then we had a very interesting experience with Wang Shu and Lu and Yu. In 2012 we were invited to work with them on a cultural project in Shushan, and it was a harbour that the government wanted to turn into a cultural precinct. So we did some site analysis, we did a whole lot of work. We were 10 architects who were brought in to work on this. So it was this old fishing harbour where there was people, they work on the boats and then they paint the buildings, and it was being replaced not by this, but by buildings of 20, enormous ugly buildings. And they wanted to save this harbour so that there would be some kind of a cultural precinct. So we tried to see how much of this we can keep, how much of the memory of the culture of the place. And this was a museum, a boat museum, to show how they were fixing and restoring boats. There was an ice factory that was turned into a gallery, and here was some housing, some social housing. And then this was the big moat where they were fixing the boats in. Just some of the references to the harbour and what was there. And this was our proposal for renovating that building in the front. It had to be a museum, and the housing at the back, and then a gallery right at the back. And there was this walkway that linked everything at 2 levels, which was a reminder of the big ice making factory. So that project was bought by a developer, and the developer got rid of all the architects, and they are building all the buildings but completely differently. They have a Chinese office that is busy doing the working drawings, and I don't really want to go into the detail because it's very frightening. This is a clinic that we've just recently completed, and I just want to show you, this is the kind of housing that they're busy building right now. So this housing is built with panels like a refrigeration panel. So it's somebody who's got a friend who's got a contract with a refrigeration company, and all the housing is being built like that. So there's no chance for an architect to get involved with social housing. It's it's completely problematic. This is the clinic we designed, and again it's a bit like a village instead of like just a block. Here's a school over here, and there's another school. So the idea here was that this needs to be the multi-purpose center, although the health department sponsored it. So there you can see, we come in on this side, this is the urban space that we tried to create, because there's nothing, there's absolutely nothing for these people. This is a contractor who's building the housing. Here's parking, and then inside there's a courtyard, but all these different buildings are different apartments within the clinic. This is the kind of drawing we would put up for the whole community to see, and we would have workshops for everybody to interact. Just here's the plan, and you can see once again that these are the social spaces, are these ones that are in between the buildings. And this is just for the students. I asked them to draw a section through their buildings. This section is 9 meters long. And when I asked the student to draw a 3-meter section, they got upset with me. So I think, sometimes it's just really good, if you explain that to the client completely understood it, and he told me, take that roof off, because the drunkards are just going to come and sleep under the roof outside. So I didn't realize that the chief of health would understand this drawing completely. Just some of the simple elevations. Here's the outdoor space, and you can see it's trying to make a place for people to come to. There was one man who helped with all the community facilitation, and it's incredibly important in the work we do that you get somebody who can communicate in the language of the people where you are working. It's very patronizing to come and tell somebody to do something when they don't understand what you're telling them what to do. This is the Mosaic project. This is the man, we trained him with Guga Sitebe. He was already involved when we were doing that first building, and now he helps to train people and to do mosaic work. This is outside, some of the mosaic work, where there's just a small bench where people can sit and interact and talk to each other. In clinics in South Africa, people go as a family. There's nothing else to do, so often you'll find it's 3, 4, 5 people who go and visit the clinic. They also go early because they can book their appointment and they can verify their appointment, but then they sit here and sometimes they can sit for 6 or 7 hours before somebody will see them. So that's the foyer space. The government wasn't very happy with providing this because normally they only provide the front door, which is here. And we asked them please to do this intermediate space. Here we wanted a kiosk, but the government doesn't want to open the kiosk. They say they will make too much rubbish. So here you go in towards the clinic. Here you can see it's the foyer area. There's a complete pharmacy and there's a records area. But this clinic sees about 1,000 people every day. People come and they spend the whole day here. There's nothing else to do. So they just come, they sit and they talk, and so this is the most fantastic thing that happened. There was a competition for an arts and culture competition for somebody who would dance and sing, and the clinic allowed, because we had big roller shutter doors, the clinic could shut off and they could use the waiting area as a multi-purpose community space. So this was a really nice event that took place. The project was part of the World Design Capital projects that were chosen. Here you can see Table Mountain in the courtyard. And this I just wanted to show you the housing. That's the housing they're building with the panels. Look at that urban fabric. It's very scary. It's very, very, very scary. Here you can see this is a courtyard, so we've designed many, many courtyards for people to expand into. There's a generator, because one thing at the moment, every day for 2 hours or 4 hours, we don't have any electricity. So any facility has to have its own electrical generator. But just look at that. Talk about climate control. I mean, climate control is definitely not a priority in the lives of South Africans. So this is just the outside in winter, and you can see this beautiful mosaic. Looks very much like the people that are coming, and people really love this clinic. It's really visited by a lot of people from all over the area. And then there's still animals, because people are, you know, they are rural and they still have animals, so there are herds of cattle in the area as well. And this is just at night. People believe it's a safe place, they're very proud of it, and they really enjoy coming here. So it was very important for us to make a space where people feel comfortable and feel at home. The good news is the air conditioner never works. It's the most sophisticated underfloor heating and air conditioning in any building I've ever done, and nothing works. This is the last shot of a young woman who was trained in ballet in one of our projects, and just to say that the impossible is possible. Thank you.